So, Beast, thanks for stopping by and to continue this conversation about your perspectives about how play can support your learning, and you brought a couple friends. So we know who you are, but can you guys introduce yourselves?
My name is Rosalina. I come from England and Denmark, and I'm in 7th grade here at ISB.
My name's Harris. I'm half Scottish, half Greek, and I'm in my final year here at ISB.
So thank you all for coming, and today's session of the Playful Schools Conference is about how playful learning can change the world, how it can help people engage in difficult topics of climate change and anti-racism and global citizenship. And you heard Tanvi's story about those incredible girls in India and what they did. And then you've also heard, well, not only B, but now Alfred from Singapore and Imana from South Africa and Rajat from the United States. And after listening to them, do you have any new questions or new ideas about how play and playfulness can support you guys' learning?
Yeah, I would say, how can we open the world's eyes to the power that play has? I would say that when you have these amazing examples, they're just incredible and they really show what play can do. And I would say, how can we really open the world's eyes to that so everyone gets a chance to learn through play?
It's also about actually how children can adapt, but also the power of children's minds have, because with the story of the girls in India, they didn't have the resources that some, like we have here at ISB. So it was thanks to them and their own thinking that they managed to come up with a problem to a real world problem and come up with a solution for that.
Well, I want to just follow up. Harris said the power of children's minds. Do you, and I know you won't be insulting me, but do you think that people your age are more creative, more playful than adults? Have we, as we get older, do we lose something, or what do you think? Is it, and B, if you wanted to say.
I think that everybody is creative when they have the ability and the will to express that in themselves.
Okay.
I think the way that our society is set up is much more encouraged for children to be creative and explore the different paths and things that they would like to do. And if we kept that into adulthood and in the workplace, I think we could see some much more creative solutions being formed.
Okay.
I would also say that creativity to me is a muscle that needs to be trained. So once you stop training that muscle, it can just be lost. And it's such a shame, because creativity is so important in today's world.
I think also with children, especially our generation today, they have much more access to creative tools than others would have had in their childhood.
Okay.
And now there's also a lot more awareness about creativity and how important it is for children, for adults, for everyone. And there's a much more focus on that now compared to, say, back when my mum was at school.
Okay. Neat. Well, I wanted to move to now our second question that I have for you, which is that I believe that you young people have the right to explore what I would call hard questions in school about climate, about racism, and about inequality. And I also believe you have the right to do this in a playful way. And by that, I don't mean that it's meant to be fun, but I think it should be where you have agency, where you have some control about what you're learning, where you're able to be curious and ask questions, where you can explore different possibilities and find joy not in that these are wonderful things that are happening, but that there are some possibilities, that you're working together with friends to make new discoveries, to master new things. And I know that you are at a school where that can happen. So I was wondering if you could share an example where you were able to explore a hard topic in a playful way.
I think a great example of this is when you look at IS, which stands for Interdisciplinary Studies.
Okay, got it.
And our teachers have put a focus on showing us the real world, showing us, but also the truth that the news doesn't show us. Because believe it or not, there's actually quite a lot good in the world, but sometimes we don't see that.
Okay.
Because we focus on the more negative things. But an example of doing things playfully is that we often do group work, presentations, like
okay.
different formats and different ways of showing our ideas and what we're trying to convey to our classmates about these issues and what we're learning.
I think that as a lot of these hard issues affect your life and the way you live no matter your age, it's important to introduce them young, but in a level that can be understood and the concepts can start to begin to be grasped. And a really interesting way to do this is using playful learning, especially in the PYP, when you get your first introduction of climate change and what that is,
Okay.
and understanding all the science behind it.
So how did that happen? Do you remember how that happened in a playful way for you?
I remember that, especially learning about weather systems, we would do a lot of experiments, such as making it rain inside a jar, where the teachers would show us how with science you can create many different experiments that can explain things, and that was very playful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we are so privileged to be in a school like we are, where we actually do get the chance to train this muscle of being playful and creative. I mean, there are many, many examples, but we do do a lot of projects that involve actually looking at hard topics like the Sustainable Development Goals,
Okay.
where then we have to find problems with them, obviously, and solutions to them as well.
Okay.
And it can be worldwide solutions, or it can just be in our class or community.
And is there something that sticks in your mind that was particularly compelling to you, or?
I remember we once spent a very long time on a project, which was what we called exhibition.
Okay.
It was a couple of years ago, but I do remember, and I still think about it today, the topic I did, which was about the environment and life on land. And I remember thinking, why we live in such an amazing place, where thankfully we don't have these same issues that some of the world has, but we do still have this issue of litter, lack of recycling, waste, and it really stuck out to me because even in my own home it was happening.
Okay.
So that was what I remember really caring about and wanting to change.
Okay. Okay. Neat. I wanted to, Harris, when Harris was talking about the different ways to doing things, it sparked a thought in my mind I wanted to just ask you guys about, which is that we called day one of this conference More Than One Way. And I made the argument for some things to be playful, it can't be just one way to do things. And you were saying that there's more than one way. And I'm wondering if that idea resonates with you and connects with making things playful.
I think that by giving us, the students here at ISB, freedom in the task that we do and how we do them, it's almost as if they're encouraging us and giving us a little shove, telling us, don't do what you should do what you want to do. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, I would like to add that thinking back to my studies here at ISB and all the different tasks we've done, our teachers have really tried to introduce subjects to us in a more interesting way, so we will be more entertained and interested in learning. And this is especially relevant to me when looking at our English class last year.
Okay.
We were studying Shakespeare. And since Shakespeare is actually written as a script, our teacher suggested that we also act out the scenes.
Okay.
And I found that this was a really creative way to just sink in all the emotions and the meanings behind all the words that we were reading.
Cool. So I have one more question for you, and it's circling back to the video that everyone saw before you guys came in. And I was particularly impressed by Mujahid and his story about how he changed his cinema to have closed captioning on the Sunday after the opening of a movie, because I felt that took a certain amount of courage to go out and, as a kid, and, to go out to adults and advocate for yourself or your community or for people that may you find some injustice, takes a certain amount of guts and courage. And I'm curious, what helps you in advocating for justice? It can be in a small scale with your family or in your classroom or with friends, or a larger scale.
I believe one thing that would help me or helps me is knowing that you've impacted a change, no matter how big or small it may be. It could be within your family, or it could be a wider range within your community. The sense of pride that you can get from just stepping out there and being out of your comfort zone is something which is good, and which is something that you really should be proud of, because it takes a lot for a person to go out there and do something that they have never done before.
Nice.
to me, also seeing results is yeah, exactly like what Harris said, with seeing that you are actually making a difference. I would also say that really believing in what it is that you're trying to put out and really believing in the message you're trying to spread is the most important thing, because then you're willing to fight hard for it.
Neat.
Thinking back to all the service activities I have done in my past, or anything I've contributed with, the main thing for me was just knowing that I had the opportunity and the resources to make a change, and I just couldn't find any reason why I shouldn't. So if I find anything that I think that should be changed, and I believe that I can actually help and not contribute to the problem, I just can't think of a reason why I shouldn't, and why not everyone shouldn't be encouraged to do the same.
Nice. What I think all of you are saying makes me think. So I don't know if I've told you this, but my background is as a preschool and kindergarten teacher. So that's who I work with, kids who are a lot shorter and younger than you. But part of the reason I'm drawn to that work is I think that having those early experiences, and it may not be going out to the local cinema, because you may not be allowed to leave the house without an adult to do that, but it may be just feeling that you have some agency, that you can do something to make a difference even when you're young, then builds on that, and then builds on that, and then when you're a teenager, that builds that when you're an adult, that you'll feel that you can also take action. So I know that this is not something that I said I would ask you, but just came into my mind. Can you think back about your early schooling experiences? It might have been here or somewhere else, where you feel like you were able to, that you picked that up, because you all three of you, I would say, I would rate highly on the agency scale. That which is great. I think is really important. There's a clear sense that you feel like, yes, we can do this, not that it can't be done. So I guess, where did that come from? Maybe it was school, maybe it was your family, but
I think at my old school, especially back in the UK where I lived previously, like most schools, I was a student council.
Okay.
I was part of that, and I think it felt really good to be able to take student voices, and then even if it was just a small change, the reward, like the people saying, "Oh, you actually did that," that was really great. And I think just sometimes being a good friend and a good person as well can go a long way, because sometimes it takes, even if it's just a small thing, like asking someone, "Are you okay? How's your day?" You don't know what that could mean to them. It could mean the world to them, which is why I think creativity and this learning through play is really important, because it teaches people to interact with each other and also make these social connections that help them. And then, like I said previously, just saying, "Hope you have a good day," can mean the world to someone.
So it can be big or small.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Do you have, either of you have any?
Yeah, well, throughout my childhood, I actually moved countries a lot. So in the first few years of my life, I had lived in France, I've lived in New Zealand, Australia, Denmark. So I found that through all this, I had just naturally was very aware that I didn't think often about, I had a lot of different experiences and met many different people. And then moving back to towns where maybe not everyone had the same experiences, I noticed that just when I was a child, I was much less judgmental of people around me who had differences such as scars and appearances that other people in my class may have pointed out. And I just remember coming home one day and not understanding why that was an issue, and talking to my parents about that.
Okay. So your parents helped you navigate that. Right?
Yeah.
Sounds like good parents.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you need to be exposed to it at a very young age.
Okay.
So I feel that thankfully I had the opportunity to. So I would say something very similar, where I've seen a lot of what the world has to offer, both good and for bad. And I do think that is such an important thing, because it does change your mindset. It changes if you know how people are living in different countries, what type of, or how they learn, how they eat, how they do different things. It really does widen your perspective.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, to just know about the world. And so we only have a couple minutes left, and you're actually speaking to a lot of educators. I don't know the exact number, but probably many more teachers than there are here at ISB even. So if you, just give you the opportunity, if you have a thought to share to teachers who, like, what might they do that's really important in helping kids engage and feel empowered and be people who work for change.
I think listening to students is very important because it makes it seem like you are respecting them, and also you're taking what they're saying to heart. And then if you do take what they say, and if it's good, because not all things students say are good.
Oh, sure.
If you take something they say that's good and you then change that within your learning environment, it could greatly benefit the students because it makes them feel like they have a say, and that can be very great for their like mental health.
Oh, absolutely.
I would also say that adults need to encourage courage. I mean, going back to this courage thing, it's so important that you have, because I know that at least now and when I was younger as well, and I'm assuming also, but you look up to adults because they know the world, they understand the world in a different way than we do. So it's important that this mindset is this what if mindset is set in to students and kids and children at a very, very young age. And I would say that is really what I have to say is, again, coming back to this, adults should encourage courage.
I'm going to put that up on a bumper sticker. That's great. Yeah.
And then also, I know that we were talking about a what if mindset. I do think being an inquirer and wanting to innovate something is what really is going to help the world in the future. It's going to be the children of today that are going to innovate the future.
Absolutely.
So I believe that is so important to have installed in them at a very young age.
Absolutely. Bea, I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, I would say that kids are naturally very curious and are inquirers, and learning is something that comes very easy to young people.
Okay.
But introducing all these big ideas, such as the UN Sustainable Development Goals, that can be very scary and emotional for a lot of children. And I think it's important for educators out there to provide a safe space for them to allow to be upset learning about the inequalities in the world and working through those emotions young. So then the goal as we're older is then how do we fix that instead of sitting and being sad about all the things that happen in the world.
Okay. I have a lot of confidence that all three of you will be people who go out and, well, even now I know that you're doing this actually, but that you'll be people who fix things. So, well, thank you for your time. And I think that's I think we've learned a lot from what you have to say. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wow, this was just amazing. Children advocating for and such brilliantly displaying, being socially interactive, iterative, actively engaging, meaningful, joyful. Children advocating for learning through play. Brilliant. Are they children? Are they young adults? Are they adults already? It's hard to tell. Just the wisdom that they bring. Ben, do you want to help us with some behind the scenes of how they were thinking? What were they talking about?
Yeah, I feel compelled to share a little bit, which is that I find what Bea and Rosalina and Harris were saying really thoughtful, insightful. They're really engaged. But the reason for that wasn't me. It's because of ISB and where we are. Let me explain. As you know, I just met these guys on Friday, and we invited them to do this panel, and then on Monday we had lunch with them and talked about the questions, and then we filmed yesterday. So they don't have a strong relationship with me, but they have a very clear mental model of adult kind of teacher types, of people who are trustworthy and supportive and friendly as allies. And that, I think, showed up in the results. And you can see where that comes from walking around the school. There's such respectful relationships between kids and adults. And at the same time, the teachers have a very clear mental model of kids being big. I think part of it is because they see kids play. And in play, kids are, as Vygotsky says, a head taller than themselves. So you see kids as the most capable.
Yes,
so.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think even beyond ISP, if you are to look at it, from children whom we've heard from across the world, I think acknowledging the power of play, the power of courage, the power of passion, and the joy that it brings and the meaning that it brings to their development, to their education, to their future is breathtaking, really. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your voices. Now it's time for workshops. To attend these workshops, you have to follow a few steps. So you have to find your program, the one that you would prefer. The link should be in the chat. You will have to leave this main room by closing it and then click on the link of the workshop that you want to attend. After the workshop gets over, you will be coming back to this main room by clicking on the link in your program for day 3. So you have to leave this room, click on the link for the workshop that you want to attend the workshop, enjoy it, finish the workshop, come back to the main room by clicking on the link for day 3 main room. See you.
Hi, and welcome to our workshop. Boy, have we been excited to share what's going on at our school. So first, we just want to say where we're from, because we're here from Denmark. We are placed in Vorbasse, a small town 10 kilometers here from Billund, where we have our school, Vorbasse Skole. We have around 230 students and 27 teachers and pedagogues in the age 6 to 15. And we've been using a playful approach since 2019. And looking in the white paper from the foundation, we chose project-based learning as our method. So when I was asked to do this, I thought I need to find some students because you know what's it's like out there. So today I brought Ella, Josefina, and Daniela, who are students at our school in our 8th grade. And I'm Merete, the vice principal of the school. So we want to share some projects with you and some thoughts about what's it like working with playful learning at our school.
Yeah.
So Daniela, could you set the scene for the first project?
Yeah, of course. So I worked with this project and it was about putting people in boxes. And I chose the theme gender equality. And I made this product, which are these flowers, and they represent a women's protest. So the small flowers are the women that haven't really opened up yet, but they're in the protest. And the bigger flowers are actually the women that has made a difference throughout women's history. And I wrote some of their names. There's also blood splatters on the canvas, and that represents the women that have died through protests and also other reasons with men. So yeah, that's my project.
That was your project and your product. So when speaking about playful learning, we want to go through the 5 characteristics. So Daniela, how was this meaningful to you to work with this project?
Well, it was meaningful to me because I think that it is really important to set focus on gender equality. And I think that it is a big problem in the world. So for me, it was meaningful and really exciting to work with this project. It was just really inspiring and really important to me.
And on the long term, why is it important to work with projects like this?
Well, they actually helped me learn also to other things. This project was actually like an exam. So when we had these other exams that we're going to have this trial exam in 8th grade and the real exam in 9th grade. So this really just helped me out because I didn't start from zero when I'm going to do the real thing. So you just learn the same things, but in a more fun way. So
it
it
actually
really just
helped
sticks
you
with you.
prepare for the actual
Yeah.
exam as well. What about joyful? Was it that for you?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it was really fun working with this project. Also because you got to choose what you wanted to do. It was really just, there's a lot of freedom, and that also keeps me motivated because you can choose what is fun for you, what's your good sides, and it was really
So you
fun.
actually discovered some new sides of yourself?
Yeah, I discovered that I was really persistent, and I discovered that I really liked researching things. So you discover new things about yourself throughout playful learning.
And what about being socially interactive? Is that present during such a project?
Yeah, well, actually throughout this project, I sat with one of my friends, Esther, and we did different projects, but we helped each other out. We both had ideas and we shared the ideas together, and you learn a lot more and get more ideas when you're with someone to brains. So
Cool. What about actively engaging?
yeah, I was actively engaging because I didn't get bored, and also when I sat with my friend, you keep each other motivated, and when it's something that really inspires you and something that you want to learn more about, it's just much more exciting, and you do it throughout things that you like. I'm a really crafty person, so I like doing these crafty projects, and not just sitting with a book. You learn this throughout different ways that are more fun for me personally.
And lastly, iterative. How did that come out?
Well, working with this product, I had to do these 3D type of flowers to give it more 3D effect. So I had to try out different methods of what paste to use and just experimenting with different pastes and just different colors. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. So now it's time just to make a brief stop for you out there to reflect a bit. So I'll give you a small amount of time to think about, why does this matter to me? Why does it matter to the people around me? And why does this matter to the world? So just a small reflection. Okay, so time to move on to your project, Ella and Josefine. So could you set the scene here? What were you up to? We couldn't bring your product in today, but what can we see on the pictures?
Yeah, we had like a project about more about chemistry, and me and Ella worked together in like a group, and we had about cannons, and we had about like the periodic table a lot.
Yeah, it was the same project as Daniela worked on.
Yeah, we just had like a different topic that was more like chemistry based.
Yeah. So how was this meaningful to you?
It was very meaningful because we had just gotten chemistry because it was in 7th grade. So it was like an introduction to chemistry, and it really helped to learn chemistry in a different way. For example, Ella has like a little thing.
So what was your take on it?
Throughout this whole process, we had a bit of chemistry beforehand, but I didn't really understand anything that was going on in these classes. But suddenly, when we focused on this periodic table, I realized that the different colors was actually different categories. So all of a sudden, when we did this with the cannons, I only had to focus on the blues, which was the gases. It just made the whole chemistry subject a lot easier for me.
So it fell into place for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Then you also had another project you told me about, something about moving away from home, which was really meaningful to you.
Yeah, it was really meaningful because we got to like choose our own like way, career paths, and you could like we learned a lot of new things like taxes, and so like we wouldn't like learn these things in like other subjects, and we got to learn it by having this project.
So projects are also a place where you can ask for things to learn about and that you couldn't really have in a regular subject.
Yeah, you can learn things that you,
Yeah, good. Was it joyful?
Yes, it was a very joyful project because we got to build a cannon and just use our hands in this class. And also it's fun to get to shoot off things with a cannon.
And how did that go? Was it a success?
Yes, in the end it was a success, but there was a lot of challenges throughout the way.
Yeah.
Socially interactive.
Yes,
Can
when
I
we
say
did
something about
this project, we were in the 7th grade, but this was also together with all the students from the 8th grade. So in like a month or so, we was talking and working together with this 8th grade that we normally wouldn't talk to or have classes with. And
how was that?
It was a great experience because they had also had chemistry for about 2 years. So they knew a lot more and helped us in this process.
Mm-hmm. Ella, you also told me that you were challenged a bit in another project where you had to present something or asked to present something.
Yes, we had this other project. It was like we did different kind of workshops, you could call it, actually. Where in this one I had to do a presentation about the history of women's football, and I got told if I wanted to present this to all the 9th graders and some parents and as well. So I had to, while I was in the 7th grade, present in English in front of all the 9th graders from the school, and that was a challenge.
That was a challenge. And how did it feel afterwards?
Well, afterwards, I think I got a lot of experience from it, and it has helped me a lot with presentation skills as well.
So you feel more confident?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, cool. Well done. What about actively engaging? What can you say about that?
Yeah, well, sometimes we would work like until we had breaks instead of having like 15 minutes or like something before to clean up. We just worked like all the way to the end and then cleaned up in our breaks because we were just like so focused and we just didn't want to like stop because we were really, if we felt like we were really close to like finishing it and like getting this canon to work, then we just didn't want to stop.
No. And is that hard when working with projects that you have your regular timetable timings?
Yeah, it can sometimes be. Like then you have to, like if you feel really close to finishing it, and then you just have to like pack up and then finish it tomorrow, then it can be like kind of hard.
Yeah. What about iterative? What can you say?
I think this whole process was a lot of just trying and failing and trying until we like solved the problem. And we had to do a lot of thinking ourselves and find creative solutions.
And it wasn't a success from the beginning. So as you said, Josefina, there was a long way to go to the end.
Yeah, for example, there was one time where we should shoot the cannon off and then it melted, like kind of like the plastic melted, and we had to like find a way so that it wouldn't melt, and then we came up with the idea of using fuses, and it worked really well. So yeah, just like the whole process of like there is a problem and we have to solve it.
Yeah. And searching for ideas and asking peers for ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, to solve your problem. And you also said there was a bit of competition. There was another team working on a cannon as well.
Yeah, there was also this other group making a cannon, and it kind of made it a lot more fun that there was this competition, and we could also it helped us also that we could see what they were doing and maybe steal a bit of their ideas to improve our own cannon.
And who won?
We did.
Well done. Good. Then I just want to share with you, because last year I had a 9th grade students when we were reaching the time of the year where they have to have their grades. She said, "Oh no, not again. And why is it that we're always doing these assessments and tests for our teachers so they can grade us? So what if?" And I really love when students come and ask these questions and have great solutions. So she asked, what if there is a person coming into our school and look at us and observe how we're working and assess us that way? So I think that's a really great question to ask. And she also asks, how come exams have to be like this? Why can it not be a project we've worked on? And I think that's also a very relevant and good question. So more what ifs. So now it's time for you to reflect a bit again. So how is this connected, what we've spoken about now, to your everyday life? And how can this be extended? And what would be the challenges? So I'll give you a bit of time for reflection before we move on to the last bit. Okay, so time for the last bit, girls. We need to give people out there good advice. Yeah. So why do you think it's important to work with learning through play? Anyone?
I think that you get to experience learning throughout different ways that are much more motivated for kids and students than you just getting assigned a book or saying you have to do this math work. I think that it is much more fun for students, and they actually want to learn something. They want to learn throughout these different and cool and more fun ways.
Mm-hmm. And what if I asked your parents? What would they say?
Well, my parents listen to a lot of things I say, and I tell them that, like, I personally think that we learn a lot more by learning this way, and my parents just like look at me and listen to what I tell them, and I'm very happy about going to school, so they obviously listen to that and think that it's great this way that we're learning.
That's definitely something that makes a parent happy when their kids are happy, yeah. And what about your teachers? What would they say?
Well, I think that it is much more fun for the teachers to teach the students in this playful learning way, because you can see that the students are much more motivated and they want to learn something. So it's more fun for them to come in a class with a positive vibe, but it probably is also a bit more hard, because for the teachers, it's not just to give out a book and say you have to read this. You have to tell the kids and assign these different tasks and help them if there's something that they don't understand or something new that they have to learn or do.
And I know for sure as a teacher, this is also challenging because we don't have all the answers. How's that when a teacher said, I don't know? Is that okay?
Yeah, well, of course, you can't always rely on your teachers. You have to research and maybe get the answers from other places than your teachers, or get something else and just get different answers and just solving your own problems.
And maybe finding out together. Yeah. So now you've spoken a lot about all the positive sides. What are the downsides?
Well, I think even though we have this project-based learning and we have a lot of it, we do still have some of what you will call normal classes and lessons. And when you have had this project-based learning, sometimes it can become very hard to focus and hard to be motivated about doing this normal classes, and just doing, for example, doing a simple math assignment can become very boring compared to the normal form of learning.
So more playful learning.
Yes, more playful
advocating
learning.
for. Good. Thank you very much, girls, for joining and sharing. And thank you out there for listening to a small glimpse of our school and our everyday life at Aarhus Skole.